Hello again. So this is Founders Time podcast, and right now we have the amazing Diane Elko with us, and she's going to tell us the wonderful world of quality on how important it is in business. So you want to tell us a little bit?
Yes, thank you, New York. I'm very happy to be a guest on your show and
Thank
on your
you.
stage. I I know we know each other a little more than maybe most interviewers and interviewees because we've done some work together, a little bit of work, and I respect the work that you do, and especially the work that you're doing with the veterans. Um, but let me tell you a little bit about quality and where I'm coming from and why I'm interested in maybe starting a sort of movement of quality for smaller business owners, including veterans who are starting small businesses, because we really need to reach out and thank them because they do and have done a lot for our country. My quality improvement years started way back when I first started working, and I'm not going to tell you exactly how many years that was. Um, I I have been involved since day one when I started working for a turbo machinery company, um, and I learned from one of the gurus of quality, actually, Philip Crosby. He has a place in Winter Park, Florida. You may have heard of it. It was called the Quality is Free. It was the name of one of his famous books, Quality is Free.
Awesome.
And he had a quality education system, they called it the QES. And I learned about all about that, and that's where the definition of quality came up, because we don't all have the same definition of what quality is. And people would say quality is shiny and bright, and Mercedes-Benz is more quality car than a GMC Yukon. Although today they're probably saying a Tesla is more of a quality car than anything. But my point is, people didn't really understand what a good definition was. So therefore, if you can't even define it, you don't know what it is then or how it can impact your business. And I'm hoping, and this is many years later, I'm hoping to help better define that and make it something that every small business owner can benefit from, not just the corporations that realize that it's key for them getting business. The customer supplier relationship really depends upon you having a good quality management system in place. So quality, according to Philip Crosby, was meeting or conforming to the requirements. And that's a simple definition. And if people all think about it like that, meeting the requirements is really not that, difficult to understand, but you need to know what the requirements are. And many people aren't really understanding their customer requirements, let alone what their own internal business requirements are. And when I started in this process with quality management systems, I went from Philip Crosby's process, and then I went into banking, and I focused a little more on the team problem solving. Something back then that they even called quality circles was big, but team problem solving and total quality management became really important because the people who do the jobs are the experts. If you have a group of employees working for you, you aren't necessarily the expert, or I'm not necessarily the expert. The people who do that job over and over again can find ways to improve. So I've been through a lot of different phases of quality. Then re-engineering became big, and I moved on then to a mutual fund company, from banking to mutual funds, and we had a big total quality management process there. Like about 100 teams were in place, which was pretty cool, and they found ways to improve whatever they did. And what was interesting is all those little incremental improvements, after it was all said and done, ended up being something really big that impacted the company. And people would often ignore some of their ideas, thinking It's not important. It's not a big deal, but all those little pieces that they could improve as you were probably focused on your own business, if you can make little improvements in the various processes that you perform, you can see big results. So then after the mutual fund company, I went into a staffing area, a national staffing company. And that's where I started with ISO 9001. And we had about close to 50 offices across the country who followed the same processes. Think of it like a McDonald's. You know, if you go to a McDonald's in Florida versus Texas versus New Hampshire versus Oregon, they all pretty much look alike, or they should, if they're standardized and they believe what they're doing is right. And so these offices that I worked with in the staffing company, we had a standardized process that worked, so we would make sure that everybody implemented it and followed it. So after so many years in staffing, I decided to start my own company, consulting practice called Improve It Consulting and Training. And I've been doing that now for about 20 years. And what I've tried to do, Niorka, is take all the pieces from what I learned, because there was a lot I learned along the way, and I'm still learning because I don't know everything. It's hard to learn everything, but I'm able to help clients because I have all those pieces figured out from my past years of experience. And that's what I try to do now. And I'm trying though, to move it from working with larger companies, such as the corporate companies, the corporate offices, and taking the important pieces out there that I think will benefit small businesses. And doesn't mean that they need to get ISO certified. And we might want to talk a little bit about what that is, because most people don't really know what ISO 9001 or any of the ISO standards are. But they're international quality standards that are very much practiced in the industries, various industries, not just manufacturing. I mean, service companies, healthcare, education. Many of these organizations, nonprofits, benefit from these quality management systems. And so ISO 9001 isn't my goal with smaller companies, although nothing wrong if they want to go for it. I commend them, because getting that certificate from the external body that comes in to put their blessing on your quality management system says a lot to any customer that you want to work with. They don't have to worry about auditing you and are you going to perform, or are they taking a big risk working with you as a supplier. So I'm trying to build a movement of making quality more aware among the smaller businesses, and then maybe moving them up as they want to, if they want to. But I have a 4-step proprietary process that I've created. And I think, Niorka, you've been through some of that, because we work together a little bit in one of the groups we belong to.
Yes,
And
thank you for that.
hmm?
Yes, thank you for that.
Yes. And I am very grateful to you, because you were very interested in implementing it. And we took we took your core processes and we laid them out. And I'll explain a little bit about my process. Since you've been through it, you can also add to that if you don't mind, because you experienced it. But my 4-step proprietary process is first to map what you do. I call it map it, own it, improve it, and measure it. And the map it part is helpful because you better understand, how does the order come in your company, and how do you take it through the various channels that need, departments or channels that it needs to go through. And even if you're not a 10, 20 person company, even if you're just a 1 or 2 person company, everybody needs to follow a process, right? And so that's what we do first. What is your process? And then each of those processes, and I happen to have yours here actually. And well, I mean, it was pretty cool. The customer order, you receive the order. I mean, it's basic, it's nothing too elaborate, but is it in inventory, your product? And if it isn't, then you have to reorder or remanufacture, whatever, you need to do to get that product back in the door. Then you have a very critical inspection part to your process. Does it pass your check, your quality check? If it doesn't, that's a worry, right? Because that's a non-conformance is what we call it in ISO language. And you want to take the corrective action that you need to make sure it doesn't happen that way from your supplier that's giving you the product that you are offering. Then we talk about packaging and shipping, um, and that's a very simple, high-level analysis. But you want to make sure your customers are happy with that. And there are pieces within the major blocks of your company that you can improve. And you already identified some of those, I think, right?
Yes, yes. To have like a touch point for the customers on every part of the process, right?
Right,
Uh, to open the communication between the customers and us, the business.
right,
Um, so it does improve the satisfaction and the whole process overall.
right. And your goal is probably to reduce any errors in any of those processes, errors in shipping, errors in maybe not getting the customer order correctly, errors with your suppliers that provide you the product. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity there that, do people address these usually? Well, sure, they have to, but do they focus on improving those areas? Not always. Sometimes, and I always like to tell the story of going into a restaurant and you're eating a nice meal, it's a fancy restaurant, food comes out, maybe it's cold, or maybe the waiter is rude and it doesn't check on you to see if you need anything else. And you're unhappy. You're unhappy as a customer, and you may even complain. A lot of people don't complain, they just don't come back. They just say, I'm not going to that restaurant again. We have too many good restaurants to worry about experiencing that negative moment of truth in that restaurant. But if you do complain, this is what upsets me more because I get really passionate about recovery and the customer recovering, or the supplier, I should say, recovering for the customer. If you say, I want to talk to the manager, this was unacceptable. This meal was terrible. It was cold. The waiter was rude. They didn't give me what I wanted. I sat here for 30 minutes before they came back to refill our glasses. And they don't do anything. They say, oh, well, we had a rough night. Sorry. They said sorry, but is that enough for a customer to feel that they're, important enough for you to take action or not to take action? What could have they done? I always say, what should have they done? And no, it might just be something as small as saying, desserts on us, or we're so sorry, we're going to give you a coupon, come in the next time and we'll give you a free meal or something. Not to just say, well, hey, that's the way it is. It happens. It's your bad luck. It was just a bad night for everybody. And then I guess the customer or the suppliers there, the restaurant owners, don't realize that you probably could have been a big loyal customer for life if they took that recovery action, if they recovered from that negative moment. I don't know if you've ever had a moment like that where you think about those things and wonder if it was done differently, it could have made a big difference.
Yes, I think that's very important. It usually is the customer that complain, um, the one that you want to, because you convince them that it was just a mistake, and that you listen to them and you did something to correct that action. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Now they become your loyal customers. So that's worse. Usually they're the one that's going to sing your praises. So they're going to become your ambassador. So it's, angry customers can sometimes be uh, a lifetime customer, right?
Right. Loyalty.
Loyalty is very important. It's
Yeah,
priceless.
right.
Um, so
And they say that someone who is unhappy will spread the word much faster and at a greater level than even one person who's very happy. When you're unhappy, you go and tell your friends, you tell your family, then they'll share the story if it's a really bizarre and unhappy situation. Negative moments of truth spread a lot faster even than great moments of truth. So we always need to be focused on the customer, and that's what quality management is all about. So that first step that I mentioned was mapping things so that you can really understand what is it that we do here and what's the sequence, the order in which it needs to be done, and follow it through. And the next step after all that is who should do it. Do you have the right people in the right job? Of course, if you only have two people, it's between you and one of your team members, or if you have a handful of people, you want to make sure they fully understand what they need to do. Or do they have job descriptions? They don't have to be like 20-page job descriptions, but do they understand what's expected of them so that they can do their job correctly? And if they don't, then that's a problem just waiting to explode. So it's own it. And the leader of the company has to motivate their team and make sure they treat them with dignity and respect. It's not just doing the job right, it's respecting them for their knowledge and their competence and helping them to see what they can do better to help everyone in the company. So owning it is really important, and that's why we go from map it to own it. And the third step is improve it, which is really the heart of the process. And that's where we say, okay, are you having a lot of errors in one particular part of your company? Do you feel that you have too many supplier errors coming in the door? Maybe you need to look for a new supplier and better evaluate them, do an assessment on them better so that you know that you're getting what you want from them. It's kind of like your customer does with you. As you're the supplier to them, they make sure that you really carefully review it and do what you need to do. But the improve it part can take many steps. A lot of people will base their improvements on customer feedback, on their own knowledge within their business. If their team members have better ways that they come up with on how to do things, they might come up with improvements just based on industry-wide practice. But they always have to be looking for improvements because it's those incremental improvements. If you can't make them, you're not going to get to the top of the heap. You're just going to be in the status quo and become a mediocre company instead of an excellent company. So the improvement process is something that I put a lot of time and effort into, and team problem solving is a part of that, really. To come up with a root cause of why something happens so you don't see its ugly face again. Then the fourth step, Niorka, would be measuring it. Because just because you implement something new or different to improve a process doesn't mean that you were effective. Improving something isn't really, the only way. You can say you've improved something, but if you can't measure it and see the results, then you really aren't achieving what you thought you need to achieve.
right.
Could we take just a second break? 1 second break. Is this easy to do or not really?
Yeah, I can pause it. You want?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I just be measured, and that's the fourth step, the measure it process. If you see improvements, errors are reduced, customers are happier. We need to survey our customers, make sure that they're happy with what we do. And a lot of people don't really want to survey their customers. They see that as a big thorn in their side. So we have to make it easier. You have a chance to talk with a customer. You don't have to send them a big survey. You can just say, hey, how are we doing on a scale from 1 to 10? If 1 is awful and 10 is outstanding, where would you rate me? And they'll open up and they might say, well, I really love what you do, but you were late on that last delivery and I really needed it a week earlier, and I wish you could focus on better on-time delivery. and they might have some other ideas. We got to listen to the customer. That's key. But that's the 4-step process, and there's a lot more involved with quality management, but I'm hoping that those 4 steps can at least get smaller business owners started, get them started on this journey toward improving the quality of their business.
So for example, for a business that that maybe is looking to do business with the government, that is big on quality and is big on standardization, you know, that's something that they might be looking um, to start in their own companies, because it's a competitive advantage that
That's
it
right.
provides them.
Right.
So what is how they start the process, how they what is an estimate of the cost, because as a small business they will have to budget for it. So what do you think will be the best way to start it?
Well, typically I do one-on-one coaching with clients, and that can vary anywhere from, in terms of money. I mean, depending on how complex their product and service would be, and how, if they design a product, we have to address design. But anywhere, I want to say anywhere in the ballpark of, say, 12 to 20,000 for a smaller business to get going. But that's me showing up at their facility and dedicated to them, or dedicated to them solely. What I'm trying to do is take parts of this process and make it more affordable to them early on, through this 4-step process. I'm hoping to do a digital course. I'm hoping to do a group mastermind kind of class, coaching mastermind. And then we say, if you're a big company and need one-on-one coaching, then we go to that 3rd level, if you will. And, it can happen over time. It doesn't have to all happen within 6 months. You could start off smaller, build it, and then in a 2-year period, you could have certification. Or the other advantage is really just seeking compliance. We call it compliance, meaning a 3rd-party registrar, which is how the ISO certification occurs, wouldn't have to come in and do the audit. But you can get an auditor, and I do audits. I do internal audits for companies, and I would assess or make certain that you've met the requirements, and write up a document or letter that says, I've audited this company and they meet all the requirements of ISO 9001. They are in compliance with the standard. That doesn't mean you get a certificate from a registrar, but honestly, if you've come as far as getting in compliance, you might as well get certified if you're, feel that it's of value to you. Some people are frightened of the certification process because they think, oh, these auditors are going to come in and they're going to dig into my information, and I might be missing something that isn't meeting the standard as it should be. But I have worked with many, many clients over the past, 20 years. And honestly, New York, if anything, maybe one finding from an auditor, they've passed with flying colors, because we make sure they are doing everything they need to do. We don't leave any doors open, if you will, or any gaps. Are you going to always be able to find one mistake? Yes, probably. I mean, if a person digs deep enough, they could probably find something, but that's just a minor nonconformance, they call it. And you take immediate corrective action and you're clear. You can fix that immediately and make sure that hopefully it doesn't happen again. But so I'm trying to open this up for, say, the smaller business, veteran-owned business, or people who aren't ready yet for ISO certification, but really want the benefits of it. Why can't they get them? That's my whole idea. and I'm not trying to put the registrars out of business. I work very closely with them, and I am all over ISO certification. But the very small companies may not, number one, may not yet understand it, don't understand the value of it until they see some of this happening and taking place to change their business. Once they see that, they might be wanting more. Maybe they won't, but the idea is they at least have a quality management system in place that works for them. You know, I mean, if implemented correctly, it'll work for them. And I guess if you want me to, I can share with you, you know, a lot of my clients, like today with COVID, I mean, we feel out of control in some respects because we can't control this virus to say, stay away. You know, I mean, we try to protect ourselves, but just like in people's businesses, the owners of the business lose control in some ways. And they may not even realize it's easy to get that control back. And that's what I'm aiming to do with what I'm offering, because there's no reason your business should be out of control. There are ways to control the risks, and there are ways to reach out. I mean, you can see there's lots of opportunities out there, as you do with your business model. And, you know, they'll say to me, many of my clients will say, hey, Diane, we can't seem to meet the customer's requirements. We have a lot of mistakes. We have a lot of errors. And those errors take time to correct, and we're losing our profits because of the rework we have to do, or the, we have to pay extra freight charges because a customer has to send something back. The product is under warranty and we aren't meeting their requirements. Or maybe they don't really understand their customers' requirements. That's a possibility too. But they say, you know, our customers aren't happy, we're losing customers. Our employees aren't necessarily happy because they don't understand what they need to do. Remember, we talked about job descriptions and clearly defining what an employee needs to do. And if they don't understand what's expected of them, how are they going to get you to the next higher level in your business? Because you're not identifying what really needs to be done by them, or they're not the right person, maybe because they're not competent in their skill levels. But you know, they'll say, we're out of control. We are losing money. We don't know what should be done, how it should be done. We're not sure how to make improvements. And all of these questions can be answered if they learn about the quality management system. And my 4-step approach really does help them to see that clearer. And then they can see that monies and revenues will be theirs if they put in some time to address all this. It doesn't have to be something that's so difficult that no one wants to address it. You know, sometimes people just walk away from an improvement opportunity because they think it's too hard to do. It's too, you know, ISO, or not ISO necessarily, but any quality management process is not that hard. It just takes some dedicated effort and someone like myself who can, who's been doing this for many years, to lead you down the right path. And once it's rolling, the results can be very big. And that's what I'm hoping to achieve. I haven't always felt I can control everything in my personal life, but I can control business processes. And that's where I am best, if you will, in terms of my expertise. So I'm hoping I can share that with others and allow them to experience the best results for their business.
Well, I think that's very important, right? Just because you're small, it doesn't mean that you add to a small. And a lot of these big business, they invest money and they invest time on getting all the certifications, and there's a reason for that. There's something about standardization and about to getting quality. I know when I was in the military is big on standardization, and they always have an after review, making sure that the process work why it didn't work, and they have corrective action right then and there.
Right.
And it becomes a habit, right? It becomes
Right.
a habit on the organization where um, everybody on the team know what to expect and what to correct, and they pretty much become the enforcers of the system or the order that it is. It doesn't mean that it's perfect, because there's no such thing as perfect, but there's something that people, they know what to expect,
Right.
you know, and I think that's very important. Um, so especially, you're offering that opportunity to a small business, because a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business, they start with an idea,
Mm-hmm.
and they might have some business education, they might have some formal education. Sometimes a lot of small business don't have any education whatsoever. They just have an idea and they start going, and they just go with gut instinct.
Right.
And I think that's what a lot of them fail, because yes, you need to start with an idea, but you need to kind of incorporate the fundamentals as well in order
That's
to
right.
make it sustainable, in
That's
order
right.
to last the long time. And it takes time, and it takes a team, um, that sometimes we cannot afford.
Right.
Uh,
We're the team sometimes.
yes, but it doesn't necessarily mean, when people talk about a team, it doesn't necessarily mean employees. They're very important, but maybe starting up you cannot afford them. But you can partner up with organizations. You can partner up with mentors, and with people that can show you the way. Especially right now, um, a video course is awesome because everybody's online, and uh, it can, so you can serve 1,000 people instead of just one. Because I know mentoring takes time,
Right.
and you can duplicate yourself so many times.
Mm-hmm.
With
That's
a
right.
with a video course, you can do that. You can actually duplicate yourself.
Right.
Um, so that's a great alternative, I think. And there's a lot of mystery, to be honest. I've been looking into that. That's one of the topics I've been looking into, and there's a lot of mystery even how to start the process. It's either they don't give you any details really. You just tell them, okay, you need to get it, but they don't even tell you how to get it. So I think that's very important. um,
And you mentioned a good word just a minute ago, expectations, Um, and I think much of the problem goes back to that definition of what is quality. It's meeting the requirements, and those requirements are often the expectations that our customers have.
mhm.
And if we don't know what those expectations are, how can you be a good supplier customer team?
Yeah.
It's a beneficial relationship, the supplier and the customer. If they can't communicate clearly to each other, you are left in the dark, and they will not be happy, and they'll leave you as a customer. So that's, you hit the nail on the head when you said expectations have to be understood, not only within your internal team, but your external team that you work closely with. And don't you agree that we're, especially today, we work with a lot of different people in a lot of different communities, even though we might be focused and have a niche for our business. It really is important to make sure all those people that can contribute in some way understand where we're headed, and also agree that they are trying to support us in what we're trying to do for suppliers and customers. And it's so, everybody's so intricately connected today, especially with the internet and everything that we have going with video and Zoom and all that, um, it's COVID is a crisis, but it also opened many doors for many people. And now I think those people who were fearful of using the Zoom video, YouTube, um, Facebook, or Instagram, they're finding that's one way to communicate and to make certain that you are reaching your target audience and the people that need to hear your story. You know, and what I say, New Yorka, is I don't think that a performance model for success is that hard to achieve. But it's because I know all the little tools and techniques and uh, pieces of information that a small business can implement. I mean, you know, I address not only the customer focus, but the vendor relationships, the supplier relationships, the standardized work processes, improving your staff's morale and productivity, talking about owning the job that they perform and making it better, cost reductions, efficiencies, best practices, continual improvement, measuring, better communication. It all adds up to all the benefits of a good performance model. And even if you just did a little bit better in each of those areas, you'd be amazed at the results. I mean, I've seen it over many customers over many years, and I know that quality improvement and continual improvement is key to success. And I will tell people, hey, you can go, you know, they tell me what their problems are and they're out of control and all these issues we talked about previously. And I will say, well, if you don't make a decision to move forward, you'll remain that way. And what will happen in a few years? That's your decision, but you can make a decision to move forward and implement quality, and your results can be outstanding. And it's all that effort and time that we want to put into our business that makes it better. And if we can't do that, then maybe we shouldn't be in business either, because we might lose because we become stagnant. And improvement, especially today, we're all learning how to pivot our work because we can't show up necessarily at people's sites. We're learning ways to do things easier, faster, better. And that's what the process improvement with quality is. Learn to do things easier, faster, better, and cheaper. And then you get better results, more revenue, more profitability in your business. It's all very much a proven method. So I hope that I can reach out and communicate that with the people who need it and want it. I mean, you have to want it. It's not something that you just say everybody's meant for this, but you have to want it and you have to make it happen. And I think that I can really reach out to those people and help them see the success that maybe they didn't realize they could do because they didn't understand what quality management was. I have to define that and identify these pieces for them first. Because I know when I talk about quality management, people will say, what do you do? Quality management? What is that? What is quality? You know, and like we started this conversation off, we need to define it. It's meeting the requirements. It's nothing that highfalutin that people can't relate to it.
Well, I think one way to define is, just look at the Japanese. They have a zero defect policy, to the point. I forgot what was the company. They're very strict. So somebody wanted a 99%, a 98% defect. So they went back and they had to smash some of the equipment used to make it to 98% because they had 100% no defect.
Oh my gosh.
That's.
We all would want zero defect. I mean, and that's one of the things that was the definition, zero defects. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we know that sometimes can't always happen, but we strive for it. We can strive for it. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and they definitely focus on that. That's what the fundamentals of Six Sigma and ISO and all these other certifications that are used. They just become the foundation of your business. Because I don't think we should plan for 5 years or to last 5 years or to last a year. We should plan to last 1,000 years. It's possible. There's actually Japanese companies that are being around 1,000 years.
Oh yeah.
And it takes planning, it takes effort, and it takes thinking of the big picture, not just the quick short run for the money.
Absolutely.
So
You've got the attitude, and that's what a lot of this is. It's an attitude too.
mhm.
It's like you and I want to improve our business, but if we don't have the right attitude, we're not going to make the progress that we need to. We have pieces of things that we never even considered before that now we're considering that any business can benefit from. So we all need to sit back and say, what is it that we really need to improve? And an improvement process such as quality management um, should help us to do that if we're implementing it right and correctly. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's definitely it's definitely very important. So I think you provide a very needed service, and I thank you for that.
Oh,
Um,
well, thank you. I am working to improve the way I reach the people who need it, and being on your podcast, on your show, is one way I can do that. So I appreciate the time that we've spent together today, New Yorka.
yeah, and I think this is something that we can have multiple conversations about it, right? Because
Yes, there's
it's
so
a
many
very
different facets that we can discuss. I mean, one of the things that I'm really passionate about, as you gathered, was the customer service end of it. How important good customer service is. I don't know about you, but I'm not happy when I can't get a problem solved on anything that I've ordered or any service that I've purchased. And I don't want to spend hours on the phone talking to people who send me to the next person and say, oh, now you need to go to this person. And I don't want to do that. It's got to be easy. It's got to be easy, and it's got to be friendly. It can't be an antagonistic relationship. Customers are king, even when they're, that we always say customers are right, even when they're not right, because they're the customer.
they're your feedback, they're your metric. If they're not satisfied, that means you're doing something totally wrong.
Right,
Because they're a reflection of the service that you're providing.
right.
So yeah, it's very important. And without a customer, you don't have a business.
That's right. You got it. You got it.
All right. So it was an honor to have you.
Oh,
Do
thank you.
you have anything that you want to tell customers how to find you, or something that you want to promote that it
Uh,
be value of them?
yes, I do have a website, and all of my information to reach me is on my website. And that website is called improveitsolutions.com.
Great name.
So it's easy just to give that. I mean, I could give them an email or whatever, but improveitsolutions.com is how they can reach me.
And I actually visited your website, and it has a lot of great information on it. So
Well, thank you.
that's awesome.
And you and I will continue to talk because I would like to help your business. You've got a great intention there to help veterans. And my father, being a 99, he passed away a few years ago, but he was 99 years old and served in the U.S. Navy. And I respect what you're doing. So let me know how I can further help you. I'll be happy to help you out.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to continue working together and have you as a
Okay.
guest again soon.
Thank you, New Yorka.
All right.
Take care.
You too. And this was Fun This Time podcast with another excellent guest. Um,